the main thing is if you're out there and you're a motorcyclist, make sure you ride hard, ride safe, wear your motorcycle helmet.
What is lane splitting, and is that something that can make riding a motorcycle safer? We're going to talk to lawyer and motorcyclist Steve Grover about that on today's episode of Ask the Lawyer. Steve, thank you for joining us.
All right, thanks for having me today.
Great to have you here. So what is lane splitting on a motorcycle, and is it legal in Alberta or in Canada?
Lane splitting is when there's, obviously there's a backup of traffic on the freeway, and essentially the motorcyclist will split the lane in between two cars that are in two separate lanes. Unfortunately, that is not legal in Canada. But in my motorcycle experience, I've been down to LA on the San Diego freeway. I don't know if you ever had experience of trying to drive rush hour in LA. But I've done it. It's legal down in California, but unfortunately it's not legal here in Canada.
Right. So what people obviously, like you said, are doing it anyway. Is that a good idea to be lane splitting?
I would not recommend it in Canada because we're taught the rules of the road when you get your driver's license in a province like Alberta that lane splitting is not legal by a motorcyclist. So unfortunately, if you're driving your car and you're in Calgary and you're stuck in traffic like on one of the big freeways like Deerfoot Trail, you're not expecting a motorcyclist to split the lanes between you and the other vehicle to the left of you. And some people just will make that change into the next lane without taking that second view behind them to see if there is a motorcyclist. So we're not anticipating that in Alberta. So I wouldn't recommend it if you're riding your motorcycle in Alberta not to lane split.
Okay, good answer there. But can lane splitting actually be safer for motorcyclists in certain situations?
It can be in certain situations, like in California when there is a backup of traffic, and if you see someone coming up behind you and you're on your motorcyclist and they're going to rear end you, instead of going to the side, the shoulder, you can split the lane in between two vehicles and avoid an accident. But in the general sense, it's not legal in Alberta, but it is something I know there's been advocates in Alberta to change the law in Alberta for motorcyclists to lane split. But the government here in Alberta is very hesitant about it, and it hasn't been a safety issue. They're more concerned if someone just starts splitting lanes and then a car comes out and makes a shoulder change, they're going to hit the motorcyclist. So it can be safe in certain situations. It could be a dangerous move in certain other situations.
So have you actually seen accidents in your practice when it comes to lane splitting?
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't take on that case because the motorcyclist was lane splitting. And like I said earlier, that's illegal in Alberta. And unfortunately, that person did have some very traumatic injuries. But they were blamed 100% for the accident because in Alberta, it's against the law to split lanes between two vehicles. So we weren't, unfortunately, interested in helping out that party.
Okay. And we mentioned you're an experienced motorcyclist yourself, Steve. Do you have any tips for motorcyclists who are lane splitting on how to stay safe out there?
Well, I mean, if you're in a jurisdiction like California, again, using California as an example, and you're down in LA and stuck in traffic, be very careful. I mean, even when I was on the San Diego freeway and there's a backup of traffic, I don't have that experience of lane splitting because I wasn't raised in California. But be very careful before you split a lane. Make sure that the vehicles ahead of you or the side of you are not going to move to the side, to the other lane to hit you. So I'd be very careful in that kind of move. It is a fun move. It got us out of rush hour traffic in LA, and we got to our hotel quicker than if we just sat there on San Diego freeway. But if you're going to do it, be very careful in doing it.
There you go. Well, we really appreciate your expertise, Steve. Anything else you want to add about this or any other issues when it comes to motorcycling?
No, I think that the main thing is if you're out there and you're a motorcyclist, make sure you ride hard, ride safe, wear your motorcycle helmet. I mean, obviously, the most important part of your body is your brain, and I would be unfortunate to have someone not wearing a motorcycle when they're riding a motorcycle and hit asphalt with their head and have some severe brain injury. So I know in some jurisdictions it's not required to wear a motorcyclist helmet, but I'd recommend everyone wear a motorcyclist helmet when they're riding a motorbike.
All right, well, great stuff. Thank you, Steve. That's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. Our special guest today has been Steve Grover. If you want to ask him any questions about your situation, call the number you see on the screen. Thanks for watching. I'm Tom Mustin for Ask the Lawyers.